I've got one thing real quick. When so we were talking about Great Pretender like 2 episodes ago or something like that or whatever.
This mic.
I almost started watching that. Then I was like, March Like a Lion. I'm like 5 episodes in. I'm like, this is weird. This art style.
I gave up after 3 episodes.
It's Shaft.
Really?
I didn't like
it.
it.
And I didn't realize it was Shaft until I saw there was one scene where it was like this, and I was like, I know. Then I went and looked it up.
It's like the Leonardo DiCaprio memes. Like,
yeah. Keep with it. Trust me.
I hear it gets really good.
It gets fantastic.
And see, so the characters looked familiar, and I was like, I've seen this character design before, and then I realized, what was it, Eden of the East?
Yeah.
Same character design.
Eden of the wait.
Is that what it's called? It's the one where the kid.
It's the one where they're given like $1 billion. And they're save the world.
Bleach and stuff.
Yeah.
It's an older.
I guess with the studio difference, it doesn't. No, that's not the same character design.
It's kind of the character design. It's the exact same character.
No, because
the mangaka, the same person did the character designs for Eden of the East.
Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why it threw me, because I was like, I've seen this before, and I was like,
because the second sister, the middle sister, looks like the main character from Eden of the East.
Correct. The girl who, at the beginning with all the photos and stuff. And
I see it with their mouths area, like the jaws on it, but the eyes definitely not.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
It's the same character design, but it's just, different studios animated it.
Different, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, same character design. So I was like, oh, okay. So I picked it up thinking, maybe what I'll do, and I didn't realize I was getting into a battle sports anime.
Also, I didn't know you watched Eden of the East, because that's kind of an obscure show.
I was actually, it's not very obscure.
It's not like super obscure, but it's just like something people never.
It's not.
I watched weird old crap back in the day. Like when I was downloading things on DC Light Plus, and I was like, I need to find things to watch. So I'm watching Eden of the East, Kitty Grade.
Oh my goodness,
all this stupid stuff. I have weird knowledge. It's like stupid anime. So
just wasn't expecting Eden of the East.
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, anyway, Great Pretender.
We were talking about Great Pretender, and then George compared it to the Ocean's movies, and then I said I haven't seen them, and then you guys mentioned you should go and watch it. So
did you go and watch them?
I watched all 3 of them.
They're crazy.
They're good.
I was like,
all
man.
3. There are 4.
I know. Yeah, I didn't watch the 4.
Rank them.
So I'm not gonna lie. I know it's not the big one.
Shut.
Okay, stop.
Stop it.
I thought if I had to put them in my personal order, I would still say 11 is the best.
My man!
But 12 is right underneath it. I don't think 13 is better than 12.
At 13. At 13.
So for me, the original 11's the best. 12 and 13 kind of like hover, because there's things I like about both of them and things I don't like about both of them. But 11 is like pinnacle.
Yeah.
This is when I think like heist.
It's very like the bad guy feels like he's an actual guy like you hate. Whereas the guy in 13 and what's it called? The guy in 13 feels kind of more like he just doesn't care. Like he's just like, yeah, I screw people over. That's what I do. Whereas the other guy feels like until you actually got to know him, and then you would figure out that he screws people over or whatever. And so, and I thought that's what held up better. And the fact that technically he is still the bad guy in the second movie or whatever is I just kind of I really like the what's it called, the dynamic that they had in the first 2. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you got to the 13th one, it's just like I know what to expect by it. So you already understand the what the formula for the movies are, which is they just don't tell the audience what they already did in the background beforehand.
Exactly.
My favorite scene is from the 13th movie though, which is when what's it called, the 2 brothers, I think it are. One of them's changing the faces of their mugshots or whatever, and then he's just he's messing with the brothers one, and he's just like, hey, man, quit messing with that. He's like, oh, sorry, man, I thought I would make you a little bit taller. You're considered a midget in 36 states. And he's like, what about the other 36? 24, 22. I was like, that's the best sign.
So good. That's funny.
Man.
Fun movies.
Dude, I went and watched a ton of movies. I watched Hateful Eight for the first time.
I still need to see that. I still need to see it.
It's a slow movie.
The first half is just okay, where's this going? And then all of a sudden it's just
Channing Tatum.
It's literally just Channing Tatum's I'm in the floor, and you're just what the hell? Yeah. The first half is just like this Western is just like it's building up to something. Crazy crap happens, and then it's only Channing Tatum in the floor.
It's so good. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I watched it. I did like it more than Inglourious
Bastards.
Yeah.
I think that one's still my favorite, which is weird because it's not like a classic Tarantino.
No.
Still has. I think that one has those two scenes that are like very fantastic, which is the first scene and also the bar scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, those two scenes are like they're like
amazing.
They're like way spectacular.
They're top tier. Just
yeah.
random scenes from any movie, they're top tier.
The theater. The discussion
really
in the
great.
theater.
So
okay.
De Coco. So if you haven't seen them yet, I would highly recommend them. Reservoir Dogs.
Yes.
It's outstanding. It's cover to cover.
Oh, amazing.
But if
Just by title alone, that's the one that I want to watch next.
But if you want like the most iconic scenes like ever for Tarantino, Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
Like
that is
those are the
Tarantino
first two
movie.
movies.
who cares what's in
Yes, I
the
think
briefcase? No one knows.
Right.
John Travolta walking.
I mean, so I have seen the first scene from Pulp Fiction, and that's
So many
also
memes from
very
that.
that's also very high.
And
I've
then-
never
and
seen
then-
the rest of the movie.
And
but
then
the
that
first-
weird like dance scene with Travolta. And
Yeah,
what's
we're
her
doing the
name?
shuffle with
we're just like Uma Thurman.
Uma Thurman,
for like
Mia.
5 minutes. I'm like, what is going
Just start going through his like start with those two. If
Yeah.
you start getting into it, maybe
Just
dabble
keep
in
going.
like
Honestly,
dabble in
just-
like Kill Bill because they're pretty good.
Kill Bills are fun.
Kill Bill they're kind of weeby movies.
They're super good.
They're
They are.
super
They're
weeby.
they're
yeah,
weird.
because
She literally goes to Japan and gets a
Which-
katana and kills
right.
an
Which-
army of people.
and it's like the
she kills
slow
the
motion
crazy
like
Crazy
air
88.
takes and
Oh,
stuff.
and actually, if you
Crazy
get the
88.
director's cut version, the Crazy 88 fight is in color. So in the theatrical release, it cuts to black and white, and it does all the
You know why they
crazy.
did that?
Right,
It was too much blood. They
Yeah.
had to make
Yep.
it black and white so that
Yeah.
they could literally put the movie out. Otherwise, they couldn't. That's how crazy gory that
which
scene
is which is funny because when you watch it, I mean it's gory, but it's like
not that bad.
It's like slapstick gory.
Right,
Like
right,
she's
right.
cutting dudes and their arms are
Yeah,
coming
it-
off, but
like
it's like
comical
playing
amount of
it's
blood.
like playing what's it called chivalry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like watching Mortal Kombat, like watching a brutality, and it's like brutal, but it's like crazy, and they blow up, and like 30 femurs come out,
it's basically
4 skulls,
it's
multiple
basically
rib
like
cages.
it's just goofy.
yeah, it's like that. I'm like,
it's
it's crazy and
Yeah.
violent and
Yeah.
weird, but it's like it's just
Like get into Kill Bill, and if you're still into it, like watch Django Unchained.
oh,
Django
I was
Unchained is
actually
phenomenal.
about to
Still
watch
need to
that one
watch.
right after.
It is
April.
phenomenal.
Django might be my favorite one.
Yeah,
Really?
it's
I
really
love
good.
Django. Oh, it's so good.
That-
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Did you watch that? I know
that's
Ben-
that's the
Ben
we watched
Leonardo
and I-
DiCaprio one, right?
Yes.
the
The
one
one
with the
that-
meme scenes with him doing the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the chair, like, what are you doing?
I still need to
That
see.
one is
one's
also a very
based
good
on
one.
the true story. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes.
I was gonna watch Django right after because yeah. I was gonna watch that one right after Hateful Eight because it's on Netflix.
Yep.
Pulp Fiction was on Netflix, but they took it down.
So
Oh,
it still might be on Amazon Video Prime.
Oh,
So if
okay,
you
so
have
might be.
Prime, if you
All
go
right.
into their video archive.
What about Reservoir Dogs?
It might be in there
Okay,
too.
cool.
You'd have to look.
Because yeah, those are the ones I want to watch. I also watched right before I watched Hateful Eight, I watched Inception for the first time.
Yo,
I was just like-
so have you seen Tenet?
I have not seen Tenet.
Sit and breathe for a month, then go watch Tenet. It's like the same.
Gotcha.
It's the same craziness.
Yeah, it's the same make you think movie.
Yeah.
Right. Wait, but it's like,
it's
like when you went into the
I think
the
Pulp
room,
Fiction is on Amazon.
Okay.
the first scene when he went into the room
Yep.
with the old guy, it fell over,
Yep.
and it's just like what?
Yeah,
Yep.
because they also show you the scene at the end where
Right, where it didn't fall over.
yeah,
It's just like
you're just like, but that's his tell. Like,
yeah.
is this happening?
It's just like
So close.
But yeah, so Inception, Tenet's a harder movie. Just because
right.
there's so much like
Right.
forward and backwards and trying to get the timelines right.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
there's-
in
It's-
Inception,
it's-
the timeline is straight.
Yeah.
It's just like levels to it.
Yeah.
just a quick note in Community when Troy's just like, I didn't get Inception. He's crying. They're all like telling secrets or whatever, and he's just like, I didn't get Inception.
Tenet's a lot. So they're like the same, but they're different.
Right,
movies.
right.
Yeah. Tenet's really good, but
It is.
it's jarring. The
It's
first time
very
you watch it.
Nolan-y.
Yes.
It's a very heavy Nolan film.
But it's good.
You can tell it's a Nolan film.
And just like Inception, there's like very minimal CGI. So if you're watching it,
it's very
they
cool.
found a way to do that.
It's
Right.
very cool.
Like man, just like watching what's his face, like go running across the hallway, like
Yeah, right.
that was really
so
cool.
awesome.
Because there's a famous clip of Inception where the scene where there's like it's completely
Yeah.
turning and twisting.
Yeah, the
they
hallway.
built that
They
entire
built
set
Yeah.
and physically turned it.
Yeah. And then there's points where he's literally like floating through the air, and I'm just thinking like, man, how did they? Oh, probably.
And
yeah.
and then it just gets crazier. Like when you watch Tenet and he's like fighting the time warrior, and you're just like, how did they do? And then
Because it looks like they're fighting someone who's moving backwards.
yeah,
Because
it's
so
absolutely
good.
bonkers.
I
good.
think the thing about these movies is more of like, it's the fact that they're doing something that, like normally speaking, like isn't technically possible for movies.
Right,
So, like,
yeah,
you would
sure.
until someone actually does it. Like it's basically like Star Wars because I also been watching a lot of I've been watching a lot of interviews with George Lucas too and stuff like that where he's talking about Star Wars and stuff, and he's talking about like basically like he had an idea, he wanted to do it, and no one was doing it and stuff like that. So he didn't have anything to reference off of. He just had
he was just
to
gonna
do
do
it.
it.
Yeah, he just had to figure it out along the way. And it's basically the concept of, basically being flexible and stuff like that when you're designing stuff.
Do you know what one of his big inspirations was when he was making the world and the characters? You'll never guess.
Wait a minute, George Lucas?
Yeah.
Let me guess.
World
War II.
You'll never guess.
No, what is it?
Wizard of Oz.
Okay, I can see that.
Really?
Yeah, I can
Cowardly
actually see-
Lion, Chewbacca.
Didn't he like?
could see that.
Didn't he do stuff like Wizard of Oz and like pulled a lot of just like D&D and medieval fantasy? It was just like, what if I did this in space?
So Wizard of Oz, the actual wizard talking.
Yeah.
Empire Strikes Back in the hologram scene.
Yeah.
He takes a lot of inspiration from Wizard of Oz.
That's
And there's
awesome.
actually a documentary of him talking about, how did you come up with this stuff? And he was like,
Yeah, because George Lucas wasn't George Lucas wasn't a movie buff by the time he actually started directing and stuff like that.
and he wasn't very old.
Yeah,
either.
he
was
wasn't.
literally like my age
Yeah,
right now.
he went into. Yeah,
Not directing Star
Right.
Wars.
He went into like he basically went into he somehow stumbled into like basically art studio, which was basically like learning how to make movies and stuff like that kind of class or whatever. He didn't actually like expected like be in there or whatever, but he lied.
Star Wars is a student film.
Yeah, but he got there and they gave him like a minute's worth of film reel, which was like very expensive at the time or whatever and stuff like that. And that was their project. They had to make a movie out of it. And the one that he made, which was a minute long, basically got like awards and stuff like that. Like a bunch of like awards. People use it as like ideas and stuff like that. Like basically like to show people they're like, here's what one guy did and stuff like that.
Did not know that. That's awesome.
And it's just like, man, like he had to work with what he had at the time, and that's what's so like, I guess in a sense inspiring about it and stuff like that, because it's just like, man, he didn't even have all these advantages that we have now and stuff like that.
Which I wish more directors and movie studios did that, because like, for instance, when you compare the Lord of the Rings trilogy with the Hobbit trilogy, the original Lord of the Rings is so much better because they use so little CGI.
Exactly.
And the Hobbit is just CGI'd out the wazoo.
Yeah.
And it looks,
And
it's not aging.
Well,
At the
it's
same
similar
time,
to
I
Transformers.
feel
We
a
don't
lot
know
of-
where your eyes are supposed to sit when they're doing the chase scenes.
right.
Yeah, you don't know where you're supposed to
I
look
think
at.
a lot of that also comes from all the news stuff they were trying with the Hobbit
That's
too.
true.
The
With
48
the-
frames, all the 3D stuff they had
And
to
the
deal with.
CG that tried to sync
Because-
with the refresh.
But so much of the stuff that like made the first one fantastic, because the first one's the Lord of the Rings, they weren't made in 3D.
Right.
They were not 3D films. So all those like camera tricks that made having tall people look like short people could not be done the same way with The Hobbit, because they were filming in 3D. It would be immediately. So they had to build 2 different sets built to different scales with 2 different cameras that were tracking each other's on different scales to make it all like seem, and then they had to comp all that together.
Right.
And it was just all that.
I'm glad 3D is
In
dead.
In addition to the 48 frame stuff they were trying, which unfortunately panned out pretty horribly, because even if it looked good in the theater, a normal theater that was only doing in 24 frames
Your
didn't look very
your
good.
refresh is half, so whenever it looks,
It looks-
that's why the cuts look
it's
so
stuttery.
skippy with the CG.
But even beyond that, as soon as it gets to a home release,
Yeah,
no one can really do a 48 frames
possible. Yeah.
movie at home. Like the setups just aren't meant for it,
Right.
and it really set itself up to fail
Lord of
in
the
that regard.
Rings.
Fantastic. 4K
Yeah,
release is
yeah.
out.
Is it?
The 4K release is out. I wanted to get it. I thought it came out later, so I haven't got it yet. And now it is retailing. Well, not retailing. It has been marked up by poachers and
course
whatnot
it
for
is.
it.
And I'm sure
Ridiculous.
the COVID is helping out with some
Not
of
at
the
all.
supply. Some of
We'll
that.
we'll get more. I'll get it. I'll be able to.
I just
play in
hope
4K. So
they don't screw up the Dune movie.
that's all I want. That's
So
all I want. All I
from the
want.
trailers I've seen so far, it looks.
I mean, from everything I've seen, they've kept
Yeah.
Paul the same way. They kept like the powers and stuff that he
and I
has
still
the same
need
way.
to finish.
So-
I put Dune on my back burner.
That's coming up quick, man. You gotta get on that.
I personally don't know anything about it, but I heard you guys mention it like a year ago or whatever.
It-
And then I
it-
saw the trailer, and I was just like, I don't know what it is, but this trailer's unsettling.
This
like watching
is the
it.
only
And so-
thing, the only story I know of anywhere that could rival the epic scale of Lord of the Rings.
So
movie form.
Dune is all about politics.
Right, right.
The
So,
entire
so,
thing
so
is
when you think Twilight Imperium,
Right.
Mechatol Rex is Dune.
is Dune.
Right.
And
Oh,
it's-
okay.
So there's a resource on the planet,
Spice.
and yeah,
Spice.
spice. So the control of the control of I think Arrakis, I think is what it's
Yeah,
officially
Arrakis.
called, is transferred to a new duke, which is the Duke of the father of Paul.
The
Duke
kid.
Duke
Here
Atreides.
comes all the politics.
Duke
So-
Atreides, Paul
Because he's
Atreides.
getting control of that planet, other dukes and other people want control of it.
Gotcha.
So it just turns into this political mess of war, and then these powers that rise.
Very
up and stuff.
Shakespearean.
So
Yeah, it's very
Noctis is getting control of the planet, and then everyone's just trying to run.
Yeah. But it's just like it's a rundown planet because there's no water on it. There's
It's
giant
like a desert.
worms.
It's just a straight up
It's
desert.
a little
Well, because
desert.
it's in the center.
Yeah.
But it's got spice.
Yeah,
So we gotta get
it's got the spice.
It's the most valuable planet, but at the same time, it's just not livable. But people live on it.
They have to.
because of the spice.
It's
Yeah.
worth.
And the
like,
author of Dune is like one of the fathers of sci-fi.
So,
Yes. Yeah.
so sci-fi
Herbert, yeah.
way back in the day started with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. She kind of invented sci-fi.
Really? I didn't realize that. Like she was the inventor. Okay, cool.
Dune establishes all the tropes in
So
today's sci-fi.
much.
So anything that you think of when you think of a sci-fi, Dune did it.
Like, if
they,
you-
they are the archetype that started everything.
Like if you want to know what a space opera is, like where it started, Dune.
Dune is it.
Dune is it.
It is amazing. So I didn't read it. I listened to the audiobook.
There's
Oh, it's
I think there's
phenomenal.
13 books.
There's a lot.
So
There's
the
like
first,
children.
the
there's
first book is the one
Children
that
of
matters.
Dune.
Right, yeah.
That's the one they're doing. But
Everything else is either in the universe somewhere before.
so
after,
it's
but-
the first one is the main book. That's the one you need to know.
And that's
all the
really-
other books are literally just Paul's legacy and his family branching out and spreading. And it's just like side stories and other things.
Oh my gosh.
It's like an anime where it's like, here's the main one, and I got the series, and then there's like all the
Right,
stuff you can get into.
Yeah.
but
Like
it's all-
Gundam.
It's like getting into Macross.
Yeah.
It's just like there's so much crap here. I don't know where to start, but this is the starting point.
just if you read, watch Dune, if that's it, you've got quintessential Dune.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But I feel like I think it can do it. I mean, have you seen the cast they have? They got Timothy Chalamet. They've got Zendaya. Oscar Isaac is Duke Atreides. They got Josh Brolin, Jason Momoa, Dave Bautista. The director is Denis Villeneuve, who directed Blade Runner 2049 and Arrival. Both fantastic movies. And like very, very visually appealing movies.
I mean,
Like,
they have
he
to-
does amazing work.
They have to do this right because if
You can't mess.
you
can't
don't
mess
do
this up.
Dune right,
Right.
the sci-fi community will tear you apart.
And there's already a Dune movie. It came out in the 80s
Yeah, there-
or
yeah,
something.
and then they
And
killed
it's-
those guys.
And it's okay, but it could be so much better.
There's also
and
a
this
Dune.
is supposed to be like this is the Dune experience.
There's also a Dune mini-series that Sci-Fi
Oh,
did a
yeah,
long
that's
time ago.
right,
And
that's
I
right.
so I haven't
I haven't
watched
seen it,
either
but-
of those things, and I want to before I see this. But I'm also kind of like not sure if I want to before I see this. I don't want to watch them after.
So it was supposed
I
to
just
come
don't
out. It was
know.
supposed to come out in like what, September?
It was supposed to come out last year, I think,
Yeah.
and
in
they
September.
pushed it, and
Because-
I think
yeah.
I think everyone's glad they pushed it because you don't want to mess this
Exactly.
up.
Yeah.
You
It's-
get one shot
Yeah.
at this.
people can be upset for a few months if you push something back, but if you push out a movie early and it sucks, then that's forever.
The Nintendo theory. We
Exactly.
take forever to release our games, but when we do, we make sure.
Yeah, exactly.
What I'm really worried about is if when it comes out, it still does poorly financially. Not because it's bad or anything, just because it's such a disadvantage with COVID and everything. I'm gonna see that in theaters.
I mean,
I might see that in IMAX if I can. I'm gonna find a way to watch this the best way possible.
I think the fans of it are rabid enough to push it over the edge to just be solidified.
I will will this movie to make money if it is my own money or anyone else's.
I mean, people for 40 years have been studying this book inside and out.
It's amazing. Oh, it's so good.
So
So good.
Have you guys seen? It's a new movie that came out on Netflix, Space Sweepers. It's
Not even heard of it.
It's a new Korean movie that came. It's a Netflix.
Oh, mom's
original.
probably watching that.
So it's basically like, what's it called? They're building basically like civilizations on like Mars because it's basically like a new, very like Star Wars version of Up.
Okay.
And stuff like that. There's the they have they have these connecting
So
towers.
it's great for the first 15 minutes and then it sucks.
Right.
Come and fight me.
What
I don't
it-
even care about Up. The first part's the best and that's it.
Oh, and that's another one of those. I don't know if you're at that stage in life, but those first 10 or 15 minutes in Up, it got me the first time I watched it in theaters. Man, it hits me harder now.
Yeah,
I bet
I
it
can
does.
watch like a little bit.
it
of
hits me
that,
hard.
Yeah.
That is one of the best 15 minutes in all of cinema, in my opinion. It's unfortunate the rest of the movie isn't as good.
Space Sweepers.
Is the best. The
Thank
rest
you.
of the movie is still.
Thank you very much.
So I wouldn't say this movie is like anything, great or anything and stuff like that. It's like, kind
So
of
it is a
R-rated.
movie.
Yeah, it's
okay.
it's
Sorry, I
like
thought it was a series for some reason.
yeah, no, it's and so they have like these colonies in space or whatever where basically so Earth's dying, right? And stuff like that, but they're basically like building growing plants in space.
Okay.
Yeah, using like technology or whatever.
As one does.
And basically, parts of the colonies kind of like break apart or whatever. So they have these space sweepers basically fly around in like a bunch of like ships or whatever and clean up. But the only ones who get paid are the ones who bring up the broken junk or whatever and stuff like that.
Okay, so it's like they're at a war with each other, kind of.
Yeah,
to get
yeah.
the junk.
They're basically like some
they
teams
get
are
paid a
working
commission.
together. Some teams are working together. Some are just stealing them or whatever. And basically, stuff happens. There's this little girl who is supposed to be like this robot or whatever that basically everyone at the colony is trying to get or whatever.
Okay.
And stuff. And when the main crew like finds it or whatever and or they find her or whatever, and then they basically like are running from everyone and stuff like that because everyone's trying to get her or something. So that's basically the concept of the movie. And then I think the reason I like it is just because it actually like looks fairly like good. And so,
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, because there's like there's like robots that are like flying on top of the spaceships or something like that. Sometimes there's scenes where like things are moving like really fast, like we were mentioning before, where you can't really concentrate on it. But at other points it's just like, oh, this is really hype and stuff. And I thought it was pretty alright. It was kind of it was just kind of like a fun movie and stuff like that. I wouldn't say it's anything great.
it's
Okay.
Korean.
Yeah.
I can get around to watching that. That
So
sounds interesting enough.
so this is gonna be a long rabbit hole to go down. So I've been playing Grand Blue Fantasy Versus.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? This is really cool, but I don't really know a whole lot about this universe. So did you guys ever go and watch the
The anime.
Yeah,
Very
the
Blue.
two seasons.
I watched the first season.
So I watched the first season up until I think episode 8 or something.
Okay.
And then I was like, all right, I'm done with this. I think I got enough of the universe. Then I did some more reading online, and they're like, you really should just go play the game. I'm like, this is a gacha. I'm like, well, okay, let me just kind of start. All right, so that was a mistake. So I'm not gonna spend any money on this
Oh
game.
no.
But
That's what you said.
Any more
now.
money.
But what I didn't realize about Grand Blue Fantasy, Eric might appreciate this too. The character designer for Final Fantasy V, 12, and 14 and Tactics is the one who's done the character and art for Grand Blue Fantasy.
And you're a huge fan of tactics and
Just as a quick
Final
side note,
Fantasy,
I
so-
believe the same person also made the character designs for the movie Magia, which was came out like a few years ago.
Okay.
It's basically like a movie version of a movie fantasy version of Violet Evergarden. Continue.
Interesting. And
Yeah.
from what I understand, I don't know whoever the director, author, whatever, lead designer of Grand Blue Fantasy modeled it after Final Fantasy series.
Right,
And
right.
he poached the whatever it is.
Because
the artist from it.
the character designs look really good.
And I didn't realize this either, but the music, Nobuo Uematsu, has done all the music for Grand Blue Fantasy, which I didn't. So I was like, no wonder this game is so crazy and super
Popular.
hyped. So I'm pretty much gonna drop the actual gacha game because I'm like, if I need any more of this story, I can
People do write-ups for it all the time.
I can look it up on a wiki or something. The characters are not gonna lie, pretty endearing. It's kind of a cool if you want just a chill. Whatever.
I actually kind of noticed that mainly with what's it called, Gran and the main girl or whatever.
Oh, Catalina.
Yeah.
The
not Catalina, the blue hair girl or whatever.
Oh, Lirio.
Yeah, like in the anime, I thought like the two of them were like they kind of like moved things forward. Very like Gran was very like a gun ho kind of character,
Yeah.
and like Catalina was
He is the
like,
MC.
Yeah, but like I don't know, like watching them kept me watching
Yeah.
the show.
And that's
with Catalina too.
And that's kind of the story mode in the actual gacha game itself. They kind of move the story along. There's some pretty funny stuff that happens with Catalina as you get like there's a character that comes up and they make like small robo Catalinas that they have to go stop from destroying an island and everything and all this crazy stuff.
I like the cooks in that game.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's just like have you played as them yet?
I have, yes.
So like when they win and stuff like that, and then you realize, oh, like this whole literal battle, like in canon wise, is literally just them telling a story and stuff and making up the fight. They're just like, yeah, we beat up Catalina very easily, but yeah.
Yeah. So I got into that rabbit hole because I was playing Grand Blue Fantasy Versus because I was like, Jason, gotta get this game so I can play this.
I want to, but Under Night still got me. Really.
I mean, Under Night's good too.
And
It's Grand Blue Fantasy Versus is more it's more the pace of Street Fighter than
Okay.
it is because it's I mean
Right, it seems more heavy.
Arxis, whatever. made
Arxis.
this game.
Arxis.
The studio.
RCSY.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that
they're,
one.
they're
Yeah.
the ones that made Guilty Gear. And,
Gotcha.
and
Because Guilty Gear seems more similar to Street Fighter than
a little
anime.
more
Yeah.
than an anime dash fighter.
Yeah.
This one definitely is.
They're more heavy, is what they are.
This one is more Street Fighter-y.
Gotcha.
But it looks like an anime game. And it
Gotcha.
should play like one, but it isn't. But it's cool just because Final Fantasy and character designs that come out of Final Fantasy Tactics, but more.
Yeah, I think I'll get around to Grand Blue eventually.
It's fun.
Like the fighting game? You don't
I
want
would
to
not.
no,
I would,
no,
I
I
would
don't-
not play the gacha.
Yeah.
Dude, I like the only one I've been playing recently is Xeno Alice, and I haven't touched that thing in months.
Oh, the
Yeah, the Yokotaro one.
Taro one, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about
When
gacha.
does the
Nier Automata
game
or
come
near,
out?
near Replicant.
Yeah,
April.
April.
Which is just a remake of the
Dude,
old
one.
it's a remake.
It's a remake
it's
of the
a remake
Japanese
remaster.
version.
It's
Yeah.
It's a
but
little
you're
bit
literally playing as like a completely new character
So-
with a completely revamped fighting system.
So that is true.
Yeah.
Yes. But so when that game, you know the story behind it, right?
Yeah,
When it-
yeah,
when it
with the
released,
young guy
America
and the old
Japan.
guy. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this one is just
The character, the actual character himself is completely redesigned. Also,
Oh,
and stuff
okay.
like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it actually is something new
okay.
or something like that, or if he's doing like another basically version like how he made
yeah.
before, where it's just like here's a
I'm ready
same
for
character, just different guy. You know.
Right. Yeah, but that comes out in April, right? And the original, from what I understand, the original studio that did the battle system.
I think it comes out next week.
But there's also the game Near Reincarnation.
It's
Oh, is that that's the remake one? Okay, for some reason I was thinking that was the gacha game that he
naming
did.
convention is.
It's a little weird.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
ready
excited
for
for
it,
it.
And I
yeah.
know people were clamoring for the sequel to Automata
Yeah, so like I've been
How would
kind
that
of
even happen?
because they're alive.
Well, yeah, but like, what would? It's so perfect. I don't want him to mess it up. though.
romance.
well, it's
Yeah, but like,
what he'll
that's the
do.
fanfic is for.
What he'll do, George, is he'll do something similar to what he did with the first Nier, which literally just
I
like
haven't
go.
played that.
No, no, I mean,
Don't, it's
no,
garbage.
from first Nier to Nier Automata.
Oh.
Yeah, where it's just like, hey,
Here's
here's,
your
like
sequel.
20,000 years.
1,000 years in the
1,000 years
future.
later.
Yeah.
Everyone's a
Cute.
dragon again.
So he might do something like he'll pick one of the random endings that kind of
Yeah,
finalizes it, and it's like, here's what happens like 2,500 years down this timeline.
I bet you he'll do that. If I were to guess, he would do it on ending C, whatever the one is where you finally find out, oh crap, this virus up in the thing is making everything go crazy.
So you find that-
he might
yeah.
take that one and say, that's gonna be a difference.
I'm for it. I mean,
But then he'll
Automata-
say, but it's not canon, like Drakengard 2. This
Automata-
follows one of the canon
Yeah,
endings,
I mean,
but
he,
it's not a canon
he
game.
didn't make Drakengard 2, so.
Automata might just be the best game I've ever played.
It's pretty good.
It's
I don't know if it's the best game I've
it-
ever played, but it's pretty good.
it's really good.
From cover to cover, it's really good.
Yes.
I really like basically what he did with the end of it also and stuff like that, where it's basically
I did not delete my save file.
did? Yeah,
no.
I'm
Oh,
not,
dear
I'm
Lord,
not a
no.
coward.
I was just like, yeah,
I
dude.
am a coward.
Well, I was like, I'm not gonna play this game again. And so I was like, I don't care.
I kept that. That's
Yeah,
fine.
it was a fun.
Apparently, though, they found the last secret. So if you did want to delete your file, you could, because now you can play the prologue and just unlock literally everything at the very beginning of the game. You just gotta stand between the right barrels and do the right inputs, and it's actually not that hard
It
at
was
all.
it was funny because around the same time we went and saw Tenet, I was playing and finishing up this game. So I'm sitting back thinking like, am I just stupid because I didn't get Tenet or this game? So what? Am I just dumb?
Right.
Can I not think? But it's
My brain's too smooth.
yeah, it was a good game. I very much enjoyed it.
Because I think I mentioned this before. Yoko Taro, he pretty much only makes games that like will make you feel something, regardless of that if it's anger that you feel about it.
It was weird because
fair.
it's so. I don't know. I never beat the first Drakengard, but I
Right.
felt more anger probably because of the battle system
Right,
more
right.
than anything.
It's very repetitive, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
Yeah,
It's kind of like a
clunky.
Muso game, but
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like a good
Yeah.
Muso game.
And it's like what he did with the concept, or like he's basically like, oh, this like the main character, like what you're expecting is, you're expecting a guy who kind of like, he's more like a hero or whatever.
Yeah.
And
He's
what
a
you
chump.
get, what you get is a guy who literally just like kills people like all the time, and he becomes mute because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like just like the concept of like Drakengard in there. It's really cool. What else? What else? Oh, yeah, there was something else.
I know something else.
What'd you get? I don't know.
Uh-oh.
Eric speaks. Oh, Champa Bay.
You know what happened since the last time?
Yeah,
Super Bowl happened.
that's right.
Yep.
Boys,
So
Champa Bay. Champa Bay.
Patrick Mahomes has actually come out and said, yeah, that was literally the worst football game I've ever played in my life.
That's unfortunate.
And statistically, it was.
Why would he do that during the Super Bowl? Why didn't
Because
just
he
save
got-
the game for a different?
Because he got hurt and he got bullied by Tampa Bay
Oh,
and
yeah.
Ndamukong Suh.
He got crushed by Tampa. There's no doubt about it.
That's rough.
They got absolutely manhandled.
That's honestly, it was kind of crazy to me that the Super Bowl even like happened, because I kind of just forgot that football was even happening.
Yeah, for most people, it's case.
But I watched the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was literally underwhelming
It
for
was
everyone
so
except
underwhelming.
Tom Brady fans, which aren't New England fans anymore, and Tampa Bay fans, which I think there's 19 on Earth.
One of them right here. We got
One of
one.
them.
We got one.
So
Proud to
Sell
be a
them on
Tampa Bay
eBay.
fan.
I'm the kind of guy, I just want to see a decent game. I'll watch this. I'll sit down and watch the Super Bowl. I just want to see one decent game.
It was an awful
so
yeah, it was.
basic.
So I'm not gonna lie, I
was
actually
like-
forgot that it was going on. And I was sitting down editing video, and then I get a text with George in the group chat. He's just like, this game's boring?" And I was like, "What's he playing right now?" I'm like looking on Discord. And so-
It was just sad. I was just watching it. I'm just like, I'm only here because I feel like it's my right, my duty as an American to watch the
I have
Super
to
Bowl.
watch the Super Bowl,
And maybe there's some good commercials.
It was
and
a very
I missed
poor
the
game.
Reddit commercials. So like,
which was all of like 8 seconds
I
of
think it was
that.
5 seconds. Yeah.
But
They had to pause to see it.
But they did it.
They did it, and that's what matters.
Literally, when we were watching, I think I literally said after that commercial, "We did it, Reddit. We got a Super Bowl ad."
The The 3D Doritos one was kind of funny with Matthew McConaughey.
going inside the. Yeah,
I hated it.
You hate everything.
I hated that commercial.
I'm not gonna lie. Most of the commercials this year for me pretty forgettable.
They weren't
And
good.
of course, the companies that virtue signaled and said, "Oh no, we're using the money for COVID research. We're not gonna do." They did a commercial anyway, so and they sucked.
Yep.
They
It
were not
was
very
pretty
good.
sad.
I just liked Beavis and Butthead laughing at crack.
And the Wayne's World
pretty good.
bros.
Oh yeah, Wayne's World
Coming
was
up
pretty
again.
good. With
But it was with Cardi B doing that thing.
Yeah, but
what's wrong with
still-
Cardi B?
Cardi B sucks. Okay.
At least it wasn't Nicki Minaj.
She was good in that
They're the same
commercial.
person,
rather
right?
be Nicki Minaj.
They sound like the same person.
They look like the same person. So.
Cardi B's an awful person, and that was just nostalgia pandering, like top tier nostalgia pandering.
So
Just bad.
what's
It's funny.
Not a good
Do you not like
commercial.
Wayne's World?
yourself.
I haven't seen Wayne's World. I haven't seen.
So Tampa
Cry.
Bay.
It's a Tampa Bay.
Which I believe
Tampa Bay.
that means they have as many Super Bowls as the Dolphins now. So
Imagine,
Is that your team?
One Super Bowl.
imagine them keeping the same team, which they're trying to do. They go back to back, and Tampa Bay of all franchises has 3 Super Bowls.
and Tom Brady will be sitting there like, who's got 8 rings?
The franchise
Guys,
that
I'm running out of fingers.
the franchise that last year out of the 4 major sports had the lowest win rate.
Won it all. That's how good Tom Brady is. It wasn't just fitting in the Patriot system. Tom
is it
Brady
with
is the
him?
GOAT.
What? How does
He's good.
He's
a freak.
He's
good.
ridiculous. So,
but how does he make everyone else?
So he's not just good. He had a lot of good players on that team too.
True.
Were they not good before? What happened? Because
If you don't,
was it an
they had
entirely new
famous Jameis Winston.
Grab him by the pussy, famous Jameis.
So it's always been said in New England with Tom Brady, he elevates the nobody players up to high caliber players, and when he actually got high caliber players, he had undefeated seasons. Like the one year they finally gave him a good running back, Corey Dillon won the Super Bowl. The one year he finally gets a wide receiver that isn't Deion Branch. Yeah, exactly.
So the year they gave him Randy Moss and Wes Welker,
49 touchdowns that
Perfect
year.
season.
Perfect season. Lost the Super Bowl because Eli Manning is his kryptonite, but
Yeah.
perfect season.
Bruh, come on. The Giants had no right to take that Super Bowl.
So it was really funny that season
It
because
was great for me because I just wanted to see the
the
Patriots
last
fail.
game of
I
that
don't
season,
care,
those teams played. That was the Patriots' last game where they went 16-0. They beat the Giants, and then the Giants get to the Super Bowl and they beat them with that Victor Cruz. But yeah, it's so people are always like, well, what happens if you actually get talent around Tom Brady? And then he wins those 3 more later, and then he leaves New England, and they're like, so. Is it New England that's good, or is it Tom Brady? It's clearly Tom Brady.
So why did he leave New England?
There was just a big divorce between Belichick not wanting to go in that direction, bad-mouthing each other, Tom Brady saying, hey, things, and wanting to go a different direction with quarterback, and then it's like, we're done here. It's kind of like the Kojima-Konami breakup. There was some bad blood, some miscommunications, and
Between the
finally
coach
just,
and Brady? Because they've been there
Well,
forever.
so after
like
quarter-
Belichick and Brady
so
have been on the Patriots.
Well,
the thing with
forever, right?
quarterbacks is after a while, they're given more leeway to control an offense.
and
They
he
can
wanted-
literally
and
direct
He wanted
it.
to do things his way.
Okay.
And they lost
I
a couple of
see.
Super Bowls not doing it his way, and they lost in the AFC Championship game the year before not doing it his way. And he's like, I want to freaking go. And then when he got his chance, Gronk's like, sign me up, and they freaking win the Super Bowl.
Bruce
Bringing
Arians-
Gronk back. That's amazing.
So
I love
Gronk,
that.
Gronk retired because he didn't want to get traded to the Lions. And then when Brady was like, hey, I'm going over here, and Gronk was like, easy. I'm coming out of retirement, boys.
I'm back.
And it was so Tony Evans, who no one hears anything about in Tampa Bay for years.
Mike Evans.
Mike Evans, yeah, sorry. I
Oh,
can't think-
Sheriff Mike Evans?
I don't know if that's a Freudian slip. Yeah, it's he actually did things this year.
Mike Evans started playing when I was in high school.
That was ages ago.
Tom Brady started playing
30
when I
years.
was in middle school.
30 years.
How long has Tom Brady been playing?
So Megatron
Who's
came.
Megatron?
So
Calvin
Megatron.
Johnson.
Calvin Johnson, he was a star wide receiver for the Detroit Lions.
Before that, star wide receiver for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets.
Yeah.
And college football team.
Tom Brady's third Super Bowl, between his third Super Bowl and his 10th Super Bowl appearance, Calvin Johnson was drafted, won a Super Bowl, or no, didn't win a Super Bowl. He was drafted, retired, and inducted into the Hall of Fame.
And Tom Brady is still playing football.
Between Tom Brady's third and 10th Super Bowl appearance,
Tom Brady,
one of the best players, has drafted, retired, and inducted the Hall of Fame.
Tom Brady is now playing against defensive guys that are the children of some of the guys he beat up when he first started his career.
People on his coaching staff are quarterbacks that he got drafted with.
Yeah. So the quarterback coach for Tampa Bay,
The offensive coordinator.
He's
Byron
40, isn't he?
He's 43.
43?
Byron Leftwich, I watched him play for Marshall, get drafted, play in the NFL, leave the NFL, come back as quarterback coach, offensive coordinator for Tom Brady, and Tom Brady was there before Byron Leftwich even got to college. And the dude was directing Tom Brady's offense this year.
So
He's a
how
freaking
long?
vampire.
So how many years has he been playing then? It was like
19?
Is it 19, 20?
19 years?
He's
Something
been in,
like that.
and he's
It was the big play that annihilated Bledsoe on that run.
Yeah. So
Bledsoe did a
90. So Tom Brady came into the league, I think, in '99.
Yeah.
In 2000.
Did he start off as
No.
good as he was now, or
So
did he like
he was
ramp up?
he was
period?
drafted in the 6th round. They thought he was trash, but
he was a
won,
middle of the road quarterback from Michigan.
But he won a national championship game with Michigan. So people were
Okay.
like, maybe
he's
but,
decent.
but physically he wasn't very appealing. He just didn't have very good stats. He just looked like a very average quarterback. I don't know what happened when he got in the NFL, but
Packed with the devil.
But it was like, what was it, 2001, 2002? Bledsoe did a scramble that injured him.
Drew Bledsoe.
He was the Patriots quarterback before Brady.
Okay.
So he did a scramble that got him injured. So they're like, well,
Blasted.
I guess we just have to sub this guy in Tom Brady.
Wins a Super Bowl.
Goes off, wins the Super Bowl.
The next year, they don't make it to the Super Bowl. They lose in the... I don't know if they lost the AFC Championship game to Oakland.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Either way, the next 2 years afterwards, win a Super Bowl. I can't really tell you any other players that were on those teams other than Tom Brady, and I guess Deion Branch.
It was like Vinatieri.
Yeah, Adam Vinatieri, which was a kicker.
Seems like kicker. Fair enough.
But I could tell you some of the defenses were outstanding. Teddy Bruschi was on there, Rudy Gay,
Yeah.
Junior Seau, I think, eventually went over to the Patriots. They had a pretty solid defensive core, but he just unloaded.
That's insane.
Then the Peyton Manning years kind of happened, and Manning was good, but there was always a back
Because
and
Manning's
forth.
retired too. Manning came up after Tom Brady and retired before.
A year after. Yep.
And Peyton,
All those names that
Manning
you know,
was
like Peyton Manning, Kurt Warner.
Eli Manning. Is Eli Manning still?
Eli
playing?
Manning's retired
No,
too.
he's gone. This last year, I think, was the year he retired.
But all these names that you know in there, like Philip Rivers and like Carson Wentz, like all these other people that like kind of
Brees?
came in around, like Drew Brees just retired.
Just
And he came into the league after Tom Brady did. Tom
he
Brady
age?
Tom Brady was playing football when Brett Favre was still in his prime.
Brett Favre was the old Green Bay Packers.
Brett Favre is so old.
Yeah,
How many times did Brett Favre retire?
once.
Once he retired, and then
Or did he just say he was going to retire like the next year?
there was a lot
Oh,
of
I'm going to retire
threatening.
next year. I'll
there
retire
was a
next
lot of
year.
like bad blood between him and the Packers, and then he was like, "I'm going to retire," and then he went to the Vikings and played pretty well. Then he retired,
And he retired.
and
Okay.
he started making Gene commercials.
Good for him. Brett Favre.
Now he's a little crazy.
It all happens.
Just a little.
But yeah, Tom Brady's literally.
He's a freak.
I'm not gonna lie, he doesn't look like he was slowing down at all. So during the actual season, the
He
team
looked
got
a little bit wonky when he came off that boat, though.
The team got banged up and they struggled a little bit, but once everyone was healthy and they got into a groove, they plowed through some really rough teams in the playoffs. Outside of the Washington football team, you don't just make Drew Brees retire.
Yeah.
Make Aaron Rodgers contemplate if he should still play football, and then literally make Patrick Mahomes play the worst game of his life. Tom Brady's a freak. He's an absolute machine.
The people that wanted to sign on the Buccaneers and the people they did sign is insane. Because when Brady said he's coming to the team, Fournette said he's coming over, who is a national champ on LSU, a college team. Antonio Brown said he's going to come over. Gronk showed up. All these defensive people were like, we're just going to come over here.
Sue,
Yeah.
the bully.
Yeah. Like, literally, when Brady said, yeah, I'm signing with the Bucs, everybody's like, we're going to that team.
Time to get a ring.
How does
Adrian Peterson wants to sign with the Buccaneers to win a Super Bowl.
Adrian Peterson?
One of the greatest running backs of all time.
Okay.
He played
Who
for
does
the
play for?
Vikings. He played for the Vikings. I think he's one of the only running backs that had over the 2,200 rushing yard
Is
season.
he's still currently playing though, or
No,
is he coming out of retirement?
He
to
was
play for
cut.
the
He was cut by the
Buccaneers?
Redskins last year, and I don't think he's officially.
where I've heard of
I
it.
don't think he's officially retired yet, but he's.
But he just came out and said, I
older
want to
for
win a Super Bowl. I want to play with Brady.
Fair. That's.
I want to play with
Yeah,
Brady.
I saw that picture of Ben Santos, and it's like Brady has a 50% chance of making it to the Super Bowl in any season he plays.
And then
at
when
this
he
point.
gets to where he's got like a 70% chance of winning the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's
His playoff stats. So the stats that he has in playoffs is as good or better than a lot of quarterbacks have in their entire career. Just his playoff stats alone.
it's just amazing.
yeah.
It's
He's
just absolutely amazing. How does that work with players wanting to go to a certain team? With like the drafting, that stuff never made sense to me.
So a lot of these players that say they want to go over there,
Yeah.
usually their contract is like up, or there's going to be a re-signing.
Yeah.
So they talk to their agent and see what kind of deals can happen.
Okay. But then like what's the whole draft thing? I know what the draft
So-
is. I just don't understand how the draft
So when a player
works.
first gets into the league, if you aren't coming on as a free agent, you enter into the draft or not, and a team drafts you, they have the rights for you, I think, for 3 years. Is that what it is? So if a team drafts you, you're kind of held to whatever deal or whatever.
So do you have to come in through a draft?
You don't
or
have
can
to. You
don't
They
have to.
just could the I don't know. just
You
the
cannot
Washington
you cannot get
Redskins
drafted, but
or
you
the
can
Washington
still.
football team. They could just walk to your school and be like, "He's really good. You want to sign with
So-
us?" and just skip the draft.
So
you can do that.
yeah, and the draft is just like if you don't get in the draft, you can still put yourself on the free agent list, and they could be like, "Well, we need somebody for our practice team. You can come in here, and if you prove
But-
yourself, you
So
might."
how do
move
you
on."
get into the draft?
Your
You,
agent just
you usually your agent, or most of the time, these are college kids
Yeah.
that are getting drafted,
Yeah.
that are the best of the college kids that want to go play in the NFL.
True.
That's usually how you do it.
Okay.
So most of the time, if you're in the draft, we're a good college player. If you're not in the draft, probably
Either already have been signed or are not
yeah,
getting
because
signed.
I mean, a lot of people that are playing college football, just do it for the scholarship, and
Yeah.
they might go on like higher education or just be like, "I just wanted to play during college
Yeah,
and then not do it
understandable.
anymore," kind of thing.
so
That's
yeah.
cool.
Well,
Yeah, Tom
So
Brady's
are-
freak.
So are there any teams that just don't do the draft?
now they all draft.
They all draft.
They all draft?
Yeah.
Okay. Do they have to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So there have to be certain positions that just not like a certain position, but like a certain amount of positions. They
Well, it's
have
like
to
you
get
ha-
draft players instead of just.
You
picking
have to
up
do the
players
draft
elsewhere?
because you have to keep a farm of players. Like you got to fill out practice squads. You got to have a depth.
True.
It's just
But
things
you but you can also trade your particular picks in a draft for future drafts as well, for other people's picks in a draft. So you can do that. So you can get really weird things like the Jets screwing up and getting like 3 first-round draft picks and drafting all terrible players. But yeah, you can do stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody it's changed throughout the years, but I think they do. Is it 10 rounds?
I think so.
10 rounds
sounds
of drafting. And every
Might
team
even do.
has.
No, I'm thinking baseball does like 12.
Yeah, baseball does a crap ton actually, but yeah, every team drafts, and you kind of have to draft, or you can trade those picks. I guess you could theoretically trade all your draft picks away, but why would you do that? Because that's a prime chance to claim good players.
Yeah.
The only bad thing with that is claiming those good players. You generally have to end up paying for as well if they are good. Sometimes they aren't good and they're a bust, but you still have to pay their outrageous contracts and put teams back like a decade.
That's the other thing. A lot of, and kind of one of the reasons why I always thought the Patriots were really good wasn't just because Tom Brady. I mean, obviously Tom Brady is just amazing, but like the Patriots are one of those teams that just has money. Like they're like Yankees, right? Like the Patriots just had a lot of money.
So what the Patriots do, they find players that have a market value they'll undershoot that value, but they'll get performance out of that player that's above their market value. Mostly because they had Tom Brady.
Yeah.
So that's how they built teams for years, where they would have dudes that would literally play on both sides of the ball, that they wouldn't pay a lot or as much as everyone else, but they would get way better performance for.
So instead of paying a ton for someone who might actually end up being worth less than what you're paying him, they're paying
3 or 4 guys that
and
amount.
They're doing stuff higher than what they're paying.
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, it's just you get a lot of guys on the page that look good just because you have a coaching staff led by Belichick and an
I know, is
offense led
great.
by Brady.
That
So
makes
you have
sense.
people like LeGarrette Blount, who looked phenomenal as a running back when he was on the Patriots, but after he left the Patriots and went to like
Nothing.
Tampa Bay, he was just average.
But he's good again now because Tom Brady's back.
LeGarrette Blount's not on
That
Tampa
is
Bay anymore
unfortunate for him.
because
Fournette's.
he wasn't as good as they thought he was. 'cause
And
he was on the Patriots.
there was one year at the Patriots where Brady got hurt, and
I think I remember that. That was
Matt
what, 4 or
Cass-
5 years ago?
it was a little longer. I was in college at the time.
Oh, okay. Then maybe I don't remember that.
But Matt Castle took over. They went 11-5 that year, didn't make the playoffs. But everyone's like, oh, this Matt Castle guy, he might be really good. So the Patriots are like, sure. And they traded him off to Kansas City for some unreal, like a 2nd and 3rd round draft pick and like a Randy Johnson rookie card or something. And they got the better end of the deal because Castle just
Didn't
tanked.
perform.
Same thing
Yeah.
with Jimmy Garoppolo. He was a backup to Brady.
Oh, yeah.
He was supposed to be like the next Brady.
Yeah.
And the Patriots were like, oh yeah, the Raiders want him for like $40 million. Sure. And he was average at best with the Raiders.
Wasn't that kind of like when the Redskins took RG3? Because
Yeah.
where did he play somewhere before, or was he a draft pick?
draft pick?
Okay.
But
But, like,
he
he was
won a
a-
Heisman
Yeah.
in college, and he was expected to be really
He
good.
just never really.
So
performed
that
the
wasn't fully
same.
his fault because Mike Shanahan has a habit of just running his quarterbacks into the ground, and you can't have a running quarterback scramble all the time in the NFL because
No, that's a
literal
bad
mutants
idea.
are running at you.
They'll kill them.
And he just got beat up.
That's
He got beat up and
unfortunate.
hurt, and that kind of ruined his career.
That
But-
sucks.
But yeah,
Stuff.
it's
Stuff.
Tampa Bay.
I don't follow a whole lot of sports, but like it is really interesting to kind of get more information on it.
That's
when
all right. The
I
best
can, so.
the best sport starts on April 1st.
Yes, bowling. Let's start. What sport were you talking about?
Isabalu.
Oh,
Opening day.
no.
But does it really start on April 1st?
Yeah,
Yeah, it
actually does.
Watch it die and they're like,
It actually does. That is opening day.
Right.
is it always open?
No,
No,
it just happens to
but
fall on
this
April
year it's
1st this year.
I mean, we're in after hours. We can talk however long we want.
We can go.
Oh yeah, Under Night in Birth.
No.
Go play some fighting
EXE.
games.
I don't want
Clear.
to play fighting games.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
2 enthusiastic thumbs up.